It is officially homecoming week, and we start our celebration with another edition of the USF Football Radio Show. Sam is off this week. Coach Jeff Scott is with us. Coach, your first USF homecoming. It's going to be a little different, like we say about everything this year. Limited fans in the stands, but fans in the stands. We're going to have some folks out there. It's going to be fun Saturday night.
Yeah, absolutely. After being on the road the last two games, I'm looking forward to getting back to Ray J, and this will be my first game at Ray J as the head coach here with fans, and excited that we're going to be able to have some fans there. And homecoming, I know, is very important to a lot of people, and so our guys are excited to get back to Ray J Saturday night.
We'll have a lot more previewing that game against East Carolina coming up later on in the show. Let's go back to Cincinnati on Saturday night. The Bulls fall to the number 15 Bearcats. There are a lot of positives, though, when you look at this game, and I think one of them is by necessity, because of the dreaded unavailables list, some guys are stepping up. I think of Brian Norris. I think of Christopher Townsell. I think of Leonard Parker running late in this game. You're finding some guys that are stepping up when they have opportunities.
Yeah, that's one of the silver linings, I guess, and the challenges and adversity that we're facing right now, trying to play football during a pandemic. But it's going to make us stronger, right? And, I mean, obviously our number one goal is to win the game, right? We want to win every time that we step out there, and, felt like we had some opportunities there in the first half to really put ourselves in the game. I felt like our defense really played well, especially in the first half. I believe we had 7 possessions on offense where it was either 0-0 or 7-0 game, and we just didn't play complementary football with all 3 phases. But after not getting the victory, there was some silver lining to a few things, and getting some guys opportunities to play, and like I said before, going through all this adversity, it's creating some change and some growth within our program, and we need both of those, and this is part of our journey. And I do feel like we're going to have some successful Saturdays this year, and definitely in the future. But this is part of the process, and you can't cheat the process. You really have to earn it, and it takes time, and we're learning that right now.
Well, the takeaways were encouraging. The interceptions, the forced fumble and recovery as well, and that's what really kept the Bulls in this game.
Yeah, I was really proud of the defense creating 4 turnovers. I told the guys today, hey, I'll take that every game. You go get us 4 turnovers, I promise you we're going to get the offense and special teams to respond, the right way. But I think not just the 4 turnovers, but I think 2 of them came from true freshmen, right? The first one, Mac Harris, in his first start. I think he started off the game with a big tackle, and then 2 plays later maybe had the interception. And then, man, what a great interception by Chris Townsell, another talented freshman, getting his first start at safety, and just kind of, looking big picture, it makes me, it encourages myself and our staff and our team that we do have some young guys out there thrown to the fire that are making big plays at big moments. And so that definitely was one of the positives.
Later on in the show, we're going to talk a lot about the defensive secondary. I would guess when you evaluated this team, that was a position that you were encouraged about. I mean, there's a lot of veterans there making some plays. It wasn't just the interceptions on Saturday. It was really flustering a very good quarterback in Desmond Ridder, forcing him to try to shoehorn some throws in, and that worked to the Bulls' advantage.
Yeah, I was really pleased overall with our secondary. I think Coach Spencer and his staff did a really good job of changing up the looks, and that's what you have to do when you play a talented quarterback like Ridder. You've got to change it up. You can't let him see the same defense each play, and in order to change it up, you also have to have some trust in a veteran secondary, guys that you could change up, change the calls, move around, and I felt like they did a really good job most of the day, and against the pass, we just got to shore up some things in the running game, and I think we'll be in a much better position defensively.
On the other side of the ball, I promise I will be the last guy this week that asks you this question. moving forward, how do you evaluate the quarterback situation?
Yeah, just like I do a lot of a lot of the positions on our team, everything's still open competition. And I mean, obviously, the best scenario is to have one quarterback that can lead your team, and we're just not there. Maybe if we had spring ball, maybe we'd be there. I really had a goal of having that done by the end of the third game, and but you can't just make a decision just to make a decision. You really, we owe it to the young men that are competing for that spot. We owe it to our team and to our offense to really let these guys keep competing. That competition's not just on game day; it's every day of practice. We chart everything, and we're going to continue to give guys opportunity. And there were also some. Biggest thing, obviously disappointing, the 5 interceptions. You can't beat anybody with 5 interceptions. And, going back watching it on tape, several of those interceptions were actually on the receivers for not using the right fundamentals, getting washed to the sideline. And so now when the ball gets thrown over there to the sidelines, the DB's there to pick it off. And so there's a lot of factors that go in to some of the interceptions. But we got to clean that up. And, I'm just looking for who can consistently lead our offense down the field, and that's what I'm looking for out of that position, and hopefully somebody will emerge sooner rather than later. But until then, it'll be a continued open competition.
Offensive line, again, had a couple on the unavailables list. I thought they were pretty solid, though, again, given all the personnel juggling you've had to do there.
Yeah, that's probably been the position on offense that's been hit the most with the unavailable list. And, it's one of those things that's tough to go through while we're out there. You got guys playing in positions maybe where they haven't played a whole lot of ball, but at the end of the day, you're getting quality experience. And when we do get these guys back, which will be hopefully soon, some of these starters back, then, we're going to have depth behind them that has played meaningful snaps. And I think that'll put us in more of an advantage situation going to the second half of the season.
Well, you had a crowd-pleasing play on that big pass to Jordan McLeod from Randall St. Felix that was just executed so crisply with all the pitches and handoffs and everything. Tell us a little bit about why you went to that play. A critical 4th down and 13. You need a bunch of yards and just came off flawlessly.
Yeah, that was one play that we did execute well. Maybe we need to let St. Felix work at quarterback a little bit. He's 1 for 1 on the year. But we're going to try to win every game, regardless of what the scoreboard says or what's happened in the game. I mean, I think that's a message to our players. And, and I will say that about our guys, that the execution was nowhere close to winning football, especially on the offensive side this past weekend. But our guys haven't quit. I mean, there hasn't been a lot of pictures of the guys just quitting. And so we're going to coach no matter what the score is. We're going to coach like the game's on the line. And, that was a play that we had, hoping that it was one that if we needed something late in the game to win the game, we had that in our back pocket. But at that point, it was 4th down, and we're trying to go score. And we decided to go ahead and call it, and the guys did. They executed it well. And, hey, it's good to have those kind of things on tape. It'll keep defenses from, being able to pursue backside and open up some other things down the road.
Just watching the sidelines at certain times of the game can be so instructive, and especially when things aren't going your way. What are guys doing? Are they looking down? Are they looking up? Are they talking to each other? Are they got each other's back? And I really see that from this team. I'm sure you study that too, is what that sideline looks like when things aren't ideal, and it seems to be a good indicator about this team.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into this, right? And coming in as a new coaching staff and wanting to really, build a new culture within our football program. There's a lot of things outside of just what happens on the field that have to be done a certain way. And we have not gotten the results on the field that we want and that we will eventually get. But I am encouraged by a lot of the little things, like you said, how we we handle that. I was looking to see, was there going to be finger pointing between offense and defensive guys with the turnovers and all the different things. And I had defensive guys coming in the offensive huddle encouraging the offensive guys. And that was a really good sign to me. And I mean, it's important after you lose a game. How do you handle that in the locker room? How do you handle that on the bus? How do you handle that on the airplane? How do you handle that Monday morning coming back? Like, these are all things that are critical when you're developing a winning culture. And I've mentioned that Bill Walsh quote many times, right? Winners are winners before they win. And right now we're not winning yet, but our guys are doing a lot of the little things off the field. Bottom line, we just got to execute a little bit better when we get in some of these situations. And when we do, I really think that we'll have a chance to take off.
All right, stay with us. Much more to come. We'll focus on the defensive secondary as the hour goes on. East Carolina coming to town for a Saturday night homecoming game. We'll talk a little bit about that in our next segment when we continue on the USF Football Radio Network presented by Marathon. Welcome back to USF Football Radio Show. It is the Bulls and East Carolina. Our coverage will begin at 5 o'clock. It's an ESPN Plus television broadcast at 7, and tickets are available at Raymond James Stadium, 1-800-GO-BULLS or usfbullstix.com. It is limited seating, but there are availabilities. Coach, it's going to be great to have the fans there, and we should mention for the fans, too, just a reminder, Raymond James Stadium is going to be such an incredibly safe place to be as they invested over $10 million of stadium renovations and improvements specifically to deal with everything that's going on now. It's just going to be great there.
Yeah, I'm really pleased that the decision was made and that we're going to be able to have fans at the game. And just like you said, I've been really impressed. I've been involved a little bit getting the information of all the different things that they were doing there at Raymond James to make it a safe place to be able to come on and cheer for our Bulls. And I'm looking forward. We missed them that first game against the Citadel. That was kind of our dress rehearsal and getting everything right in the Raymond James getting everything right in the stands. But now that it's ready to go, I'm looking forward to seeing some of the Bulls faithful out there Saturday night.
When it comes to areas of the team really affected by depth, I would think special teams can be at the top of that list because you're always kind of thinking with that, do I put my starters in on special teams? Do I protect them and use other guys? And your choices just get progressively more limited. So I'm sure that's part of the challenges with special teams. But what are your thoughts on trying to get that unit to where you want it to be?
Yeah, we have not been consistent in that area in 3 games, and really a lot of the different areas within special teams. We've got a lot of guys that are playing a lot of different spots, just like you said. I'm not sure that we've had the same lineup yet. And the special teams gets kind of robbed twice, if you will, with the COVID and everything that goes on. The defense, they may lose a couple guys. Offense may lose a couple guys, but the special teams, they lose all of them. And then just like you said, sometimes, a backup linebacker becomes a starter, so then you have to take him off a couple special teams because you don't have a backup behind him at linebacker. And so, it's a tough job, but, it's one that we spend a lot of time working on. We'll continue to do that, and hopefully, halfway through this season, we'll have a lot of guys that have done a lot of different jobs on special teams, and, hopefully we can be more effective and execute better.
Well, conference play continues on Saturday as East Carolina comes to town, and as you've told us, it's about the Bulls and how they play, but I know you're studying the opposition as well. What have you seen on tape from the Pirates in their first 2 games?
Yeah, they, they're athletic. They like to throw the ball all over the place. They're going to challenge. This will be a great challenge for our secondary who's played pretty well this year. These guys are going to throw it, 3 out of every 4 times. And, their quarterback is a playmaker. He's a gutsy player that, he gets on a roll. He can put the ball exactly where he wants it to be. They like to be disruptive on defense. I think I remember watching from home, actually, them play Central Florida. And they played them really well, for the first half. And, just kind of got away from them a little bit. Central Florida played better in the second half. But, this is a dangerous team. That's what I told our team this morning. I mean, obviously, we got to focus on us. We got plenty of issues that we got to get corrected. But this team's coming in here with their backs against the wall. They're starting off the season 0-2, and they see an opportunity. Watching us on film, they see an opportunity to get a victory. So they're coming in. We're going to get the very best version of East Carolina. And my message to our guys is we need to be sure that they get the best version of us. And, I don't ever want to win a game because we play somebody who played poorly. I want to win a game because we earned the victory and we played well on our side, right? You never never want to be that guy out there playing golf and you're sitting here hoping the other guy misses the putt, right? Hey, you win the hole because you made your putt, right? And so that's our mentality is, hey, we need to worry about ourselves. We got things we need to clean up, and we're doing a lot of really good things. But the things that we need to work on are those little things make the big difference. And that's really what our message is for our guys this week.
So many upsets this week in the conference and across the nation. Is that in part just because of COVID and the playing field in some cases kind of being flattened out with unavailabilities? It's hard to know what's going to happen week to week.
Yeah, it's definitely a different year. I mean, I think every year there's obviously upsets and these type of things. We're all trying to figure out who we are, right, with our own teams first. You don't have a lot of time worried about what other people are doing, who you're playing, and it is the first time that as a coach I've ever gone out to a field in pregame, and you got some of your assistants going down the depth chart, looking at who they have out there in warm-ups, trying to figure out who's available, who's not. It's just a different deal for all of us. But at the same time, everybody's dealing with it, right? We're not the only ones, so there's no time for excuses or trying to feel sorry, for yourself. It is what it is, and we got to find a way to win, even during these challenging times.
Do you have former players coming back for this one? I know at homecoming normally you would, but being a different kind of year, I don't know if that's going on or not.
Yeah, I have talked to a few of the former players. I think the announcement with tickets and all those things are going on. This is kind of an interesting week that we're maybe hopefully announcing that we're going to be able to have fans in the stands. So I'm sure we'll hear from many of our former players, and would love to have as many of them at Ray J Saturday night as possible.
You've been kind of involved in that. I know Sam has been as well, trying to create that brotherhood and fraternity. Have you seen progress in that?
Yeah, was able to do some good Zoom meetings with some of our former players. We had a big day planned for the spring game to have a nice barbecue for all the former players. And obviously we're not able to do that. And, with COVID, we're not able to have those guys out here for practices and all those type of things. And, so that's another thing that I really, miss during this time is being able to interact with a lot of our former players. But I've received messages from several guys each week just encouraging what we're doing and to stay the course. And I look forward to, whenever it's safe and healthy to do so, I look forward to spending some more time developing those relationships with our former players.
You have talked about knowing when your team is ready heading into a game. What are you looking for this week at practice and maybe even at that hotel night before the game to make you think this team is ready to roll on Saturday?
Yeah, the biggest thing that I'm challenging our guys with this week is just the intensity in practice. One of the difficulties with the limited guys practicing, limited depth charts and those type of things is if you're not careful, you get into a situation where you just try to make it through practice as a coach and as a player. And kind of my message to the guys this morning is like, it's not good enough just to have a team and just have enough guys to go line up. Like, none of us signed up just to play. Like, hey, we want to win. And so if it means having extra water breaks and taking a couple extra minutes here or there, like, we have to improve the intensity of our practices. And that's a challenge in itself. But that's the only way that I know to really improve our execution is through intensity. And we had a good intense day. I felt like the guys responded today. I mean, their pride's hurting. All right, they have a lot of pride, and and they've worked hard. And unfortunately, we haven't executed well enough to see that hard work turn into wins. But if we'll continue to work and improve in a few areas, I believe we will see that this year.
A lot of teams are struggling with penalties, false starts. I mean, not necessarily penalties of aggression, but just not getting the snap count right. And here are the Bulls, one of the least penalized teams in the nation. How do you account for that? I mean, obviously these guys' heads are in the game.
Yeah, one of our we have something we call the plan to win, and there's six key factors in the plan to win. And one of those factors is to be the least penalized team. And, we talked about that. We talked about where we were last year with penalties, one of the worst in the country. And we talked about, hey, we're going to have to fix that. And the way we fix it is in practice. And we brought officials out to practice and did some different things there and just holding guys accountable. And the guys have bought into it. That was, unfortunately, that's the only one of the six key factors that we won Saturday was be the least penalized team. We had 3 penalties. They had 7. But, yeah, I think through 3 games we're maybe top 10 in the country in fewest penalties. Hopefully we can continue that as we bring up the other areas to where they need to be.
Well, the turnovers had been great. You didn't give it up in either of the first 2 games, so hopefully back on track with that this week also.
Yes, that's a key factor. If we can keep our defense creating turnovers like they have been, and we can protect the ball on offense, obviously your opportunity to win games increases dramatically.
It's interesting you mentioned earlier in the show about some of those interceptions from Saturday being caused in part by wide receiver positioning. Tell us a little bit more about that as you go back on tape and evaluate these plays. What are you looking for from the wide receiver other than aggression and catching the ball about positioning?
Yeah, I met with the offense this morning and had a 14-play cut-up that I wanted to show them that, like, hey, this is the difference in us winning the game and losing the game. And in all 14 of those clips, it had nothing to do with ability. I mean, it really didn't. It was just doing the little things right. And there was things for the quarterback. There was things running backs. We did not protect well. So maybe the route was there and the quarterback's wanting to throw it, but the running back doesn't block the right guy or doesn't execute the block. So now we can't get the ball out. Well, then the next time we have really good protection by our O-line and running backs, and then, the wideout doesn't get his depth. His angle on his route is not correct, so now the ball is incomplete, right? And then, on 2 of the interceptions, I've coached wide receivers my entire life, right? And so one of the big things that you want to do when you're running a go route, a deep ball, is you always want to leave 5 yards to the outside for the quarterback to put the ball. So we have on our practice fields, we've been out there before, we have a red line that's 5 yards from the sidelines. So as our receiver is working his release, it's really between the wide out and the DB, it's a game of real estate. The DB wants to push the wide receiver as far close to the sideline as possible and limit the room for the quarterback to drop the ball. And the wideout wants to hold his line. And what we did on 2 of the interceptions that Trey Marsh had, unfortunately, was our wide receiver just voluntarily gave up the room and just ran to the sideline. That allowed the DB to push even further. So when the quarterback put the ball really where it needed to be, about a yard or 2 from the sideline, unfortunately, our wide receiver had moved so far almost out of bounds where all the DB had to do was turn around, and he was right there where the ball is. And so, that's just a teaching point for everybody in that room that, hey, it's not all just about the quarterback play. Do they need to improve? Absolutely. But we've got to get all 5 position groups doing the little things right. And for us to be able to go down and finish some of these drives. I mean, there were times and moments Saturday versus a very good defense that we did move the ball and we executed. And when we did, it looked like what we need to look like, but it was just too many inconsistencies. We had a good protection and a good route on 3rd and 11, and we throw the ball, too high. And so it's just some of those little things that are very correctable. But again, it comes back to the intensity and focus all week long in practice, and that's what we'll be working on this week.
Great teaching point for fans, too, as they watch the game. You kind of see some things develop, and sitting in front of the TV or on the radio, you think you got it all figured out, and there's a lot of stuff going on down there.
Yeah, if you've ever heard the saying that there's no defense for the perfect pass, what they're talking about there is when a receiver does a good job of holding his line, holding vertical and not getting widened, and the quarterback puts the ball over his outside shoulder, there is no way to defend that if it's done correctly. And that's really what we're having to coach and show, and it takes time. I mean, it took time where I was previously at Clemson. It didn't just happen overnight, but when the guys really understand it and buy into it and start executing it, then that's when you really are able to become an explosive passing team down the field.
Coach, thanks. Good luck on Saturday. We'll see you there.
Great. Thank you.
Head coach Jeff Scott joins us. Stay with us. Much more to come. Bulls in East Carolina this Saturday, and we'll continue after this time out on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back to the USF Football Radio Show. It's the Bulls in East Carolina. Our coverage begins at 5 o'clock on Saturday with ESPN Plus TV at 7 from Raymond James Stadium. And a reminder, this is our first home game of the year where there will be fans. Limited tickets available, 1-800-GO-BULLS or USFBullsTix.com. Cornerbacks coach and recruiting coordinator Jules Montana joins us. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk first about this defensive secondary that you work with. We're going to talk with a couple of the mainstays, KJ Sales and Mike Hampton, a little bit later in the show. This is a veteran group, and they've shown the leadership that we kind of expected heading into this season. What's it like working with this defensive secondary?
Positive is those guys bring a lot of experience, play a lot of college football games, which is always a positive. They're not freshmen, so you don't have all that freshman's mistake. You get that out of the way. So I think the game experience is important. There's none like it. You can't replace it. And I think when they go out there on Saturdays, they're used to a lot of those wide receivers, the speed of play, just the college atmosphere, just overall, just the whole college football in general. It's not, experience is the best teacher. And like I said, those guys got a lot of games under their belt, so that's always a positive.
You, like every other coach, is dealing with the dreaded unavailable list where you've got to make changes sometimes at the very last minute. What has that been like?
Not easy, but just got to keep rolling. I guess we keep telling ourselves we're not the only one that's dealing with it. Just try to do the best that we can and keep following the proper protocols. And I think our training staff and Coach Stott has done an unbelievable job with that. Just taking it day by day and just doing our part.
A year at Georgia and then Texas State before that. You played at West Virginia, later on Eastern Kentucky. So you've made a few stops throughout the college football world. That's not all of them on the bio. Tell us about coming to USF. How did it come together that you joined the Bulls?
A lot of things had to fall in place perfectly. But I think, the Coach Scott's dad, Coach Brad Scott, he recruited me in college, and when the job opened up, there was several resumes that wanted this opportunity, and they had a couple guys in mind, and a couple things fell through, and I reached out to Coach Brad Scott, and he remembered me from recruiting, and one thing led to another, and I was fortunate enough to get this job. I was really excited to come back home. I'm from Naples, Florida, so I was really excited to come back home and be close to my family, get a chance to recruit this state. Very excited about the high school football in this state. There's a lot of really good players in this state, so I was fired up, get an opportunity to come down here and, get a chance to work with a veteran group like you talked about earlier, so it's been all positives.
Well, you are recruiting coordinator in addition to working with the cornerbacks. Tell us a little bit about that, the process here. We know Florida is a special place for high school talent, and I'm sure you've already hit the road quite often traveling the state. Tell us a little bit about recruiting in Florida compared to other parts of the country.
Well, I can tell you this: there's a lot of pride in the Florida high school football. If you look at the stats, one way you could grade. If you look at the stat, Florida has the most, up there number one or two in terms of NFL players and across the country. And a lot of big shout out goes to the high school coaches in this state. They do a really good job of preparing these kids for the next level, and the competition is awesome. This it's important to them, and a lot of these kids it's opportunity for them to get out of the situation that they're in. Get a chance to get a college education, and NFL may not be the deal for them. Get a college education and play 3-4 years and have a great experience, which what happened to me. I'm a kid from Naples, Florida. Got an opportunity to get a scholarship, got a chance to go to West Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, met my wife at Eastern Kentucky. So college football has done a lot for me, but it all started with high school football. And I think the one thing that we've done here from our coaching staff is, just early on identify the guys that we want, guys that are serious about their academics, good character young men that we want to bring to this program and mold them and go from there. As of right now, we got 20 guys committed to us that we feel pretty good about. And it's been really challenging, but I think our coaching staff did a good job. We put a plan together before all this COVID thing happened, and we executed it. And we got 20 guys on board, and we're going to keep those guys. We're bring them along and keep on rolling.
It must have been quite an experience right at the beginning trying to put together that first class on such short notice. I mean, you guys were coming together right around the holidays. Coach Scott was going back and forth between trying to win a national championship and trying to get his staff together and get a class together here. What were those days like, those first days on the USF staff?
Well, the first couple of days, Coach Scott was here, and I'm not sure who was hired at the time, and at the time, we had a couple guys that was committed to the old staff, and I want to say majority of those guys they stayed with us, which is a positive. And I believe we had about 7 or 8 spots available. We came in and identified about 7 or 8 guys that we wanted. We got them up on campus with their family. They enjoyed it, and I believe we had about 7 guys on campus, and 6 of them, decided to commit. So the following weekend, we identified some next year's guys, and then the following weekend, we had 1 or 2 guys come in and to finish off the year.
Jules Montana is with us. He is the cornerbacks coach and the recruiting coordinator. Give me your sales pitch. When you find a guy that you want, that will fit in here, what are you selling him on?
Well, I think I'm selling them on the program, what we're about. I think it's a mutual agreement. About, like I said before, we're looking for good character young men. Guys are serious about their academics. Obviously, we want some really good football players. That's why we're recruiting them in the first place. And I think the fit's got to be it's got to be a good fit. And what we do is we provide all the information on the front end. Say, hey, this is what we're all about. We're looking for good character young men, serious about their academics. We're gonna look at that high school transcript. Are you a guy that's taking care of your business in the classroom? Are you a guy that's preparing for the SAT or ACT, whatever it may be? And there's plenty of guys out there that are. Now, it's not always going to be perfect. There may be a guy out there that has, some hard circumstances, due to their family backgrounds. But if they're competing in the classroom, we're going to try to find a way to help them out. Because at the end of the day, we want to bring these guys in here and we want them to have a positive experience. And like Coach Scott's talked about, our first goal is we want to help these guys graduate. And you got to show us that you're serious about your academics. The football part's easy. The football part's easy. That's why we're in this, in this thing together. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. That's what they're all saying. If you're good enough at the college level, high school level, they're going to find you. You just got to do your part from a player standpoint.
And I would guess the process has changed so much, electronically now with Zoom and all the meetings that you can do virtually, that you have to do virtually now in the state of the world. And then also with social media, which I'm guessing can be very, very instructive as well as you're trying to find out what kind of a man a prospect is.
Absolutely. The game has changed tremendously. With social media, with Twitter. Just to kind of give you an example. I graduated high school back in 2002, and back then the process was you played high school football, and then your high school coach would send the college coach would send a DVD to the high school coach. The high school coach would take that DVD and he'll record the highlight film and send it back. Well, that's about a week and a half process. Imagine if you got 4 or 5 guys on the team. That's a process. So nowadays, they put the film on Huddle and they put it on Twitter, and everybody in the world can see it. So from a player standpoint, they're getting a lot more exposure, which is an awesome thing. Some of the negative thing for the college is you can't really hide anybody. It's all hands on deck. If you're a good player, they're gonna find you. Now, from a negative standpoint, what we do is from a lot of these kids that we're recruiting, we really don't know them that well. We won't get a chance to spend that much time with them. So what we're trying to do, we're trying to gather as much as information as possible about them, and we're going to talk to people in the neighborhood and people in the community and try to find out some information about them. But we're going to look at their social media, because most of these guys, they're on their phones, they're on their Twitter, their Instagram, whatever it may be, and we always tell them, like, look, hey, don't post anything on there that your family wouldn't be proud of. And we've had several guys that were, before we offer, if you will, we look at the social media. Hey, this guy doesn't seem like he's one of our type of guys. And I've seen it happen, multiple times where a guy's not getting opportunities based on the stuff that he puts on social media.
Interesting stuff. Coach, thank you. Good luck against East Carolina on Saturday. Appreciate you being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Coach Jules Montana, cornerbacks coach and recruiting coordinator. Stay with us. Mike Hampton, KJ Sales with us next on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back to USF Football Radio Show, Bulls in East Carolina, and we hope to see you there because fans will be allowed in. Limited capacity. Get your tickets at 1-800-GO-BULLS or usfbullstix.com. The defensive secondary for the Bulls has been terrific, and two of the reasons why. KJ Sales, Mike Hampton. Guys, thanks for being here. KJ, let me start with you. I want to start with your very first days as a USF Bull when you transfer in from North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, you know the area and everything, but Mike was very important to you in your first couple of days here. Tell us about getting settled in Tampa.
Me and Mike, we've always known each other since my sophomore year in high school. We both played on Team Tampa together. So coming back home, the transition was kind of rough because I was getting acclimated to being back home, and it's a lot of things going on at the time. But him and his family, they welcomed me with open arms, and we just clicked instantly, and we've been close ever since.
Were you recruiting him, Mike, when it got to the point where we thought KJ might be coming to Tampa? Were you excited about that?
Oh, yeah, I was very excited. I found out on Twitter, then I called him to make sure it was real, and he told me it was, so I knew I had to get him here.
Well, it's been a great combination with you two guys back there, and you guys have both talked a little bit about the Glenn Spencer defense, which sometimes can put defensive backs on islands a little bit, and you guys both embrace that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it's a tough task, but we pretty much we up to it. We take it day by day in practice. We know what we're going against. We know how our defense is set up and where it's going to leave us on the island by ourselves, and we just take it with no grain of salt. We're ready for the pressure.
It's the challenge you like, isn't it, KJ?
Yes, sir. Being a cornerback, you got to have swag out there. You got to do what you got to do, you know what I'm saying? So we pride ourselves off that, and confidence is big for us. We go into every game confident, and we've always been that way since, high school. And I know both of us, me and Mike, we've been that way since we were young.
Well, you guys are both veterans. You both played a lot of football, and you've got some young guys playing on this team, partly by design, partly because guys being out.
Right.
I think of a guy like Christopher Townsend in the last game making that big interception. Mike, let's start with you. What do you think your role is with those young guys, helping them getting prepared to play?
To show them guys preparation is key. Watching film is help you play faster and it's easier in the game. Chris, all week last week came up here and watched film after practice. He made a play in the game. So the more you prepare, the more plays you make.
They listen to you, KJ. You too, Mike. But I mean, when you're talking in practice and everything, you hold people's attention.
Hmm.
Have you noticed that?
Yes, sir. I've always been that vocal leader my whole life, and I try to lead by example. I try to everything I say, I back it up. I try to back that up to show the guys that you got to lead by example. If you're gonna speak, you got to be the one that's doing it also. So, I embrace the challenge of leading those guys. Me and Mike. That's what we talked about when I decided to come here.
Football is such hard work, and it can be all encompassing with your time and your thoughts. But this year in particular, there's so much else going on.
Definitely.
And we talked a couple of months ago when we were doing an interview segment, and I asked you at the time, with a little bit of time now since the Unity Walk,
Hmm.
as you put that in perspective, what are your thoughts?
Um, you know, I feel that us, as far as the country goes, I feel that we still have a ways to go. But I also feel strongly that we're taking the necessary steps to accomplish the goals that we want here in our community and here, in America. It's going to get better. Like I said, we just got to take it one step at a time and one day at a time. We got to make the necessary choices like voting and stuff like that. So that's just what we have to do. And for everybody to say that they want to do something, you got to take action to it. And I think you're starting to see that. It's a lot more awareness being spread now in the community about voting and stuff like that. So I think it's very positive.
Well, unity is the word,
Yes, sir.
and a version of it, united from start to finish, is one of Coach Scott's mottos for this team. Mike, have you seen this team kind of come together a little bit over the last few months?
Yes, sir, most definitely. I think based off last year to this year, the culture has changed. Players coming together more. We're not pointing fingers at one guy or the defense or the offense. Players just coming together playing as one.
It's tough for players when a coaching change occurs.
Right.
People tend to forget that it's not just the head coach. It's most often it's the position coaches. It's almost everybody up and down the line that you
Right.
deal with on a day-to-day basis. When a change was coming and Coach Scott was here, what was your first thought? Did you know much about him, or did you set out to learn about him once the announcement was made?
I kind of set out to learn about him. I knew of him, but I kind of was learning as I went. Asking questions. Meeting with Brad Scott when he first got here was big for me as well. But I kind of learned about him as soon as he got the job.
Mike, you get a new defensive coordinator, you get a new position coach, and you're a guy that's seen a lot here, and I'm sure you have comfort levels of, this is how I feel comfortable doing things, and now you're heading into your senior year, and here we go again. What was your thought when that change occurred?
Uh, it's my third coaching staff, so I just had to think of it as a positive way. Just learn more techniques. It's just more techniques coming. Learning more defenses. It was just help expand my mind, expand the knowledge of the game.
As you get ready for East Carolina this Saturday, fans in the stands, but honestly, it's going to be such a limited number. It's still
Mm-hmm.
not going to be a regular atmosphere. How much of an adjustment has that been? I mean, I know they had probably 500 people at Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
You had nobody when they played Citadel at Raymond James Stadium. And you can pipe in all the crowd noise you want. It's not the same, is it?
It's
I
not.
mean, how do you guys get used to that?
It's still kind of weird to me. Just not seeing fans in the stands. We're so used to it. I'm the type of guy that I feed off of the noise and stuff like that. But I think it's good for us as players because you can see, like who takes the preparation serious. I think the game is still going to be played regardless, whether it's fans in the stands or whether it's a cat in the stands. The game's still going to be played. So I think that it shouldn't make a difference of if it's fans or no fans in the stands. We're going to come out and we're going to give it all we got.
And you're both local guys. I mean, Mike, how's your family handling it, not being able to be right there?
They call me every week. They wishing to be out there. It's hard because they want to see me in person for my senior year. So this week's their chance to come out and support me.
Shout out Grandma Faye, man.
There you go. Saturday night at the stadium. Have you decided where your son's playing college football yet? Are we in the mix here for him?
We'll definitely be in the mix. We'll be in the mix. I hope he comes and stays home. But I'm gonna let him make his own decision.
Every time I see him, he looks to have the KJ Sales personality.
He does.
That didn't take long.
I know. He's talking now. He's saying full sentences. It's crazy. It's like I remember when we came home from Citadel. And he said, "Daddy, were you at your football game?" I said, "Yeah, dude. You said full sentences. It's crazy, man."
Well, guys, we appreciate you taking time for us today. Good luck against East Carolina. I know there's a lot of challenging things out there right now, but you guys are both doing the program proud. Keep it up,
yes,
and we'll
sir.
look forward to seeing you out
We
there.
appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
KJ Sales, Mike Hampton. Stay with us. Back to wrap it up after this on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon. Welcome back. We have football at Raymond James Stadium this Saturday, 7 o'clock. The Bulls and East Carolina. Limited fans are going to be there, so get your tickets at 1-800-GO-BULLS or usfbullstix.com. Thanks for being with us today. Sam will be back next week, and we look forward to seeing you again on the USF Football Radio Network, presented by Marathon.